Hi guys, welcome back to Refreshing Motherhood. My name is Taylor if you're new here. Welcome to my channel, welcome to this little village. This is a very safe space, a non-judgmental space for moms to come together to find encouragement, and I would love to have you be a part of it. So if you want to subscribe, I would just love that, and I would love to get to know you a little bit more. So be sure to introduce yourself in the comments down below if you do. But today I am talking about how I am teaching my toddler how to sleep in a very gentle, non-sleep training-esque type of way. Personally, I do not believe in cry it out. I do not believe in the Ferber method or anything like that. Just my personal feelings on it, my mom gut just tells me otherwise. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I wanted to kind of introduce what this video is. So if you follow my vlogging channel, you've seen me kind of talk about this new schedule and this new technique that I am trying with my daughter Denver, who is about 14 months old, to teach her how to sleep and to, more importantly, teach her how to fall asleep on her own. And I definitely want to make a video about this, but I was a little bit worried about how do I go about it when I'm just starting, but you guys were so curious, so I decided to do it in kind of stages. So this video is kind of going to be a part one, an overview of what I'm doing, the steps that I'm taking, my thoughts on it, and then I will do a follow-up video a little bit later, kind of once we're more into it, more finished with the process, onto kind of the next steps, and give you more of a comprehensive view of what worked specifically and what didn't work long term. So, but I still wanted to kind of share so you can maybe get tips, maybe try this out with me, maybe offer your suggestions, and we can kind of go through this together. So starting off with a little backstory on Denver's sleep. When she came home from the hospital, she was a wonderful sleeper. I had no complaints. Newborn stage was heaven. She was sleeping 4 or 5 hour stretches her first week of life, and by about 4 months old, she was already sleeping 12 hours at night, 10 to 12 hours at night. And I thought, like, yeah, I'm like super mom, I hit the jackpot, and it was amazing. It was just like, I thought I was so lucky. Then when she turned about 6 months old, she started eating solids, and she started having some issues with her sleep, as well as with her health. She had a lot of tummy issues. We later found out that she does in fact have an intolerance to certain types of foods that was causing her a lot of her issues. So it took us about 7 months to figure that out. So we literally just figured that out. And so we struggled for a long time with her being very upset, very uncomfortable, in a lot of pain, and really affecting her sleep. She went through that first sleep regression at 4 months old. We kind of got out of it, and then by 6 months old, her second sleep regression, it just never got better. And from that point on, she did not sleep more than 4 hour stretches. If I was lucky, like 4 hours was a good day. A typical day was waking up every 1 to 2 hours. And then it got really bad when she was probably about 10 months old, where she would just wake up for hours in the middle of the night, like 4 or 5 hour stretches where she would just be awake. We'd have to come out in the living room, we'd have to turn a movie on, like do whatever we could do just so that I could function the next day, and keep her from crying and being upset. So we are exclusively breastfeeding. We have been since day one. She does not take a bottle. So that's just kind of like a comprehensive understanding of where we got to, what we went through to get to this stage. So I have never been one to want to sleep train. So I'll talk about my view of sleep and what I kind of think sleep is. I think that there's 3 parts to sleep in human life. The first part is, I think it's biological. I think that some people are made up to where they need more hours of sleep per day. And I think that there's people who are made up to where they don't need as many hours of sleep per day. I truly believe that. I truly believe that sleep comes as you age and as you get older and as you grow. I don't think that babies are born needing to sleep through the night, and I don't think that babies are born and have 6 months of waking up at night, and then at 6 months old they need to all of a sudden switch and sleep through the night. I don't believe anything like laid out like that. I believe every baby's different, every person's different, and that has to do with your biological makeup. I also believe, though, that sleep is something that you can learn, partly. Something that the baby learns and also something that you as a parent learn. So I am learning what Denver needs as far as her sleep, and she's learning how to fall asleep on her own and how to sleep through the night and how to not rely on me to comfort her and soothe her and put her to sleep every single time she wakes up. I also believe that we transition in our sleep. So there are sleep transitions, is what they're called, when you go from different types of sleep. So when you first fall asleep through the night, you are in a lighter sleep, and then you transition into more of a REM type sleep. And for an adult human, it can happen anywhere between like 4 to 6 times a night, I think is what the article I read said. And at each transition, we wake up a little bit, and sometimes we don't remember, most of the times we don't remember, and then we end up going back to sleep. So babies also do this too, and that's where kind of the sleep issues come about. I believe that sleep techniques will be different for each and every person, each and every baby, and so nothing like, there's not one special thing, that special recipe that works for everybody. So that's kind of my view on sleep in general, just to give you an idea of how I approached this whole topic with my daughter. So I wanted something that I felt comfortable with, something that I wanted her to be able to know that I'm here, I'm helping you, I'm comforting you, I'm here if you need me. I don't think that she will learn how to sleep through the night and then never wake up again. There's things like teething and sicknesses and different growths that will happen that will cause her to wake up at night, and that's okay, and I think that that's fine. But I also think that it's time. She's about 14 months old, and I could see the things that I was doing that was kind of hindering her from really learning how to sleep on her own. And I don't like to use the term self-soothe because that's often associated with things like cry it out, but teaching her how to be okay to fall asleep on her own and not with me. So when she was a newborn, up until that 6-month point, we did the routine eat, play, sleep. Naturally, that's what she wanted to do. And then about 6 months old, when she ended up dropping down to 2 naps, we ended up switching it to the opposite, where she would nurse herself to sleep for her naps, and she always nursed herself to sleep for bed. And this was something that she did naturally. I'm definitely more of a proponent for baby-led things rather than parent-led, because I think that they communicate what they need from us, and I don't want to put my needs onto her. I always want to look for her needs first. And if you look at the scale, I'm probably leaning more toward like the attachment parenting scale, but I don't like to put labels on it. I just feel like a lot of the things that we've done have aligned with that. I'm a stay-at-home mom, I've breastfed exclusively, we co-sleep, she does sleep in her crib too. Like, I'm not opposed to anything, and I didn't go into parenting with like certain views of what I wanted to do. I just kind of let Denver lead, and so I will say that I am definitely big on letting her lead, and so we ended up switching it. At this point, however, she is using nursing as a way to soothe and comfort, and not necessarily as a way to eat. And that kind of came into play because she didn't feel good for a big portion of her life. I was just nursing on demand, and sometimes it was every hour, 24 hours in a day, because she needed that comfort. And now that she's feeling so much better and she's doing so well, she got into a weird situation where now she wasn't taking in big meals from the nursing sessions, and she was like taking in these little snacks, and it actually wasn't very good for her development. And we needed her to take in all of the good nutrients from the range of breast milk that I was getting, and so I needed her to get onto more of a schedule of nursing for food instead of nursing for comfort, because I knew she didn't really need the comfort anymore. It just became something she was used to doing. So the biggest thing that we did was create a schedule for her and try to stick to it. I really believe that consistency is huge in anything that you do, and babies really crave that consistency and that routine. And what I noticed was having a consistent routine for bedtime as well as just during the day made all the difference in the world with her behavior, with her just what to expect, and with her sleep. So the first thing that we changed was a consistent bedtime routine, starting with a consistent time of the day. So every day at 7 p.m. We would start with her bath, we would lower all the lights, we would talk in quiet voices, we would give her a bath, then we'd go and get her in her PJs, we'd read her favorite books, and we would read her the same books every night by her request. So I just kept those there, and she knew, like, I read this book and then I go to sleep. And then after we read the book, she would nurse, and then I would put her down in her crib. But what I was doing was letting her nurse completely to sleep to the point where she's like rolling off, and then I would rock her for an additional anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour until she was in such a deep sleep that she didn't even know when I laid her down in her crib. But what I found was happening with that was that when she had that first sleep transition, she would wake up and be like, okay, where am I? What's going on? She would cry, and I'd have to go back in, nurse her back to sleep, lay her back down. And we'd do that every single time she would transition her sleep throughout the night. And when I really thought about it, if I were to fall asleep in my bed and then wake up in a half transition, like you're half asleep, and realize that I'm on the couch, I would be startled and like wake up and then have a harder time going back to sleep because I don't know how I got on the couch. What am I doing here? I need to go back to bed. And that's what our babies think when they transition. They think I was just cuddling with my mom, I was so warm, she was snuggling me, she was rocking me, and now all of a sudden I'm by myself, I'm in this place. Like, I don't know, even if you recognize it, even if it's comfortable, like the couch is comfortable, maybe you've even slept on the couch before, but if you woke up in the middle of the night on the couch and you didn't know how you got there, it would wake you up. And so our babies get startled enough to where it wakes them up, and then they don't know how to go back to sleep without you. So that's when I really thought, okay, I have to teach her how to fall asleep in her crib instead of in my arms. So then I created our daytime schedule. So we wake up for the day at 6 a.m., sometimes 6:30. She nurses. We eat breakfast by about 7:30. And then 9 a.m. we have our first like day nursing session. And then 11 o'clock we eat lunch, and 12 o'clock she goes down for a nap. So she nursed at 9, she ate lunch at 11. At 12 o'clock she doesn't need to nurse. She's not hungry, she doesn't need to eat. So I decided no more nursing before naps. We're gonna nurse after our naps instead. So I did a very slow and gentle approach to that, and I would nurse her just enough to where she was calmed down and relaxed, and then I would take it away and then rock her and sing her a specific song. So this specific song we would sing every single time she goes to sleep, so she can start associating the sound of the song and the song with sleep instead of nursing. And that has helped so much, and she loves it when we sing to her. So she would just watch me sing. She didn't even really fight it. She didn't cry. She kind of like whined a little bit and like looked for like, okay, like wait, like I want to nurse. But the singing really helped distract her enough to where she was like, okay, I get this. At first it would take me an hour of singing to her to get her to fall asleep to the point where I can lay her in her crib and not nurse to sleep. And that's what I did at first, is I just took away kind of that nursing, and I didn't focus on like, oh, you have to fall asleep in your crib. I just focused on not nursing her to sleep. So I took it really slow. Then I added in putting her down drowsy, not awake. And this is the tricky part, because there's such a small window of a point where they are asleep enough to where they don't care that you're moving them, but also awake enough to where they can look around, see where they are, and then end up falling asleep in the crib fully. And this is something that I'm still learning, how to get that like sweet spot. If I go too early, she will wake up and think like she wants to play and like look around and think it's funny. If I go too late, then she'll be asleep and she won't open her eyes and know where she is, and then that transition, we have that hiccup. So it's definitely tricky finding that sweet spot. But what I do is I sing the song as I rock her in my arms in the rocking chair. As soon as her eyes close, I stop rocking, and now I sing the song just holding still. And then after singing the song like twice in a row, I will stand up and then go and stand in front of the crib. And sometimes she wakes up and she's kind of unsettled, like what's going on, and so then I just stand there and rock her in my arms, and I continue to sing the song. And then once she is, her eyes are closed again, then I stand still, and I am at this point usually humming it instead of saying the words. And then I will lay her in her crib and continue to hum, usually help her get into a comfortable position. She likes to be on her belly, so I will do that. and then I will let her kind of like roll around. She usually pops her head up, looks around. I just rub her back, continue humming until she has relaxed and closed her eyes, and then I will stop rubbing and just hold my hand on her back, and then eventually lift it off, and then eventually stop humming. So it's kind of a process, but if I do it right, I can do it in under 5 minutes, which is amazing. If I time it properly, if she's ready to go down for her nap, if I get the sweet spot right at the exact time that I should, I can do that whole deal in under 5 minutes, which is amazing. It would take me half an hour to an hour to put her down for naps beforehand, and then bedtime is easily an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. So that has been such a huge deal, and the consistent schedule has really paid off. So then the goal is to get her to sleep 2 hours, and then I usually nurse her about 2 o'clock, and she's ready and she is happy with it, and she nurses and she takes a great big meal in, and then she's super happy and off to playing. And then after that, we usually have a bit of a snack about 3:34 before dinner. I make dinner, we eat dinner about 5:36, and then usually between 6:30 and 7 is when we start her bedtime routine, depending on how tired she is that day. And then what I started doing at night was doing her bath, reading her books, and then nursing her with the lights on in the bedroom. And then after she's done nursing and she takes that meal in, I don't let her comfort nurse. I take her off, we turn the sound machine on, we turn the lights off, and then we start the whole process over with the singing of the song. And now it's dark. And she honestly had a great transition. I thought it was going to be really difficult to get her to not nurse herself to sleep, but she really responded well to singing the song and having me there and having me still comforting her. And I truly feel like it has been helpful for her to have me still with her the whole time and not putting her down and letting her try to figure it out on her own. That's just something that wouldn't have worked for her, and it didn't work for me. So I really am happy with this routine, and we are just trying to stick to it. And now she knows exactly what to expect. At 9 o'clock, she comes over, she asks me to nurse. She's ready for lunch when it's lunchtime, and by 12 o'clock she's ready to take a nap, and she's excited to take a nap, and it has helped her naps be so much longer. We have had days where she has struggled with waking up during that transition time and having to go and rock her back to sleep, but I still don't offer to nurse until the very end of her nap. Some days are harder than others to do that. Some days she will sleep the whole 2 hours. It just is kind of a learning process, and I'm just kind of taking it day by day to see what exactly she needs. But since I have done this, she has slept anywhere from 5 to 7 hour stretches at night, either the first stretch of the night or the second stretch of the night. Sometimes she'll wake up kind of earlier in the evening and then end up sleeping a longer stretch into the morning, but that was something that was unheard of before we started this, and so I'm really excited. She's also been taking 2 hour naps more often than not with this, which is also unheard of beforehand, and I think it's been so helpful. So I know that this video is getting super long, but I have so much to tell you about this topic, and by filming this, I can already tell you that I'm glad that I split it up, because I would have like an hour-long video for you guys. So that's kind of the overview of what we're doing. I hope that this was kind of helpful for you, and I hope that you can take some tips. Sleep is hard, and I know that I struggled personally with a lot of adverse effects of sleep deprivation. I'm struggling with anxiety. I'm struggling with not feeling well because I am so exhausted and so sleep deprived. And there comes a point where I feel like in order to be the best mom that I can be, and the best wife and housemaker, and take care of my family the way I need to take care of them, I also need to take care of myself, and I need to get some sleep. So if I put the work in right now to be able to do this and help her, it's gonna help her in the long run. Not only will she be getting better sleep, but I will be getting better sleep, and I will be a better mom in turn for her. The last thing that I want to say about this topic is that sleep is so important, and she is a different baby when she sleeps. And when she wakes up all night long to nurse and to need to be put back to sleep, she has a harder day the next day. So this is definitely worth it, and it's gonna take work. Doing a sleep teaching method like this, that's gentle, that is a slow approach, that is non-cried out, takes a lot more time than a cried out version. And that's something that I had to come to terms with myself, was this might take a couple months to really get to the point where it's working, but that is better for me than the alternative. So if you are willing to put in the work and you're exhausted, I know you're exhausted, I'm exhausted, and you're like, I just want to do something to sleep, but you might have to sacrifice a little bit in the beginning of knowing that this is all that I'm doing, is just working on sleep. I literally canceled all of our plans for a solid week because I just wanted to work on this with her and be there for her and be consistent for her and do what I needed to do to make this successful. I've already seen such a huge improvement with Denver, and I cannot wait for it to continue. I'm really excited about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you stuck around to the end, you're the winner and you can do this. I would appreciate any advice or tips you have for me in the comments down below, and stay tuned because my next video will be coming out the more we go on this journey. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. I cannot believe how much stuff we are getting rid of. I will show you. This is all trash that we are throwing away, and this is all items that we are donating. These are items that we're actually putting in the motorhome. Not very many, but I mean, look at all the stuff. Like, there's just people who could really use these items that we just don't.